Hello. Yes, us all pulling faces at the screen. I was going to do a fancy countdown, but I forgot to upload it. I forgot to upload it. Hi, Francesca. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Kate Daniels read-along for the first two books in the series. Would you like to introduce yourselves, or would you like me to introduce you?
I kind of want to hear you introduce us.
Okay, all right. We want to hear you introduce us.
So we have Heather from Here Booktubes and Megan from Youth Vader, who very kindly decided to join me on this read-along journey with the Kate Daniels series, and we have been very excited pretty much since we decided to start reading it. But I think this week, every day someone has said, "I'm just so excited" in our message. So it's what got me through this week, to be honest. So if you're here, say hello in the comments. Don't be shy. We're very nice.
And we need to make note of the fact that on this side of the world, it is still Steph's birthday. Steph's birthday, whoever you are. Steph's birthday. So cheers. May we be the best part of your day. Many happiest birthdays.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you. I get to have double the birthday. Extend it out. So I applaud. Yeah. I applaud this. I need
There's
to do
someone I think knocking at my door. I'll be right back.
That's okay. That's timing.
Well then, we don't need her anyways. What was she going to bring to it?
She'll be back. Thank you very much. Happy Friday. Or Saturday if you're on my side of the world.
I just got the notification for the live, so we might have more people popping in here in a second.
Yay.
Hours awesome. Do not. Who just went in hours? I cannot mute that stupid thing. It's like
you just have to close it because I just had to look pops up.
JK, they're working on the roof.
Into it. Wow.
Great timing.
Way to go.
Well, that's just reminiscent of the second book. No, end of the first book or second? No, first book.
One.
First book. My dog is like, why is there noise coming from the front? And I'm like, bro, I don't know.
Are we going to go in order, or whether we going to like of?
I think we should. Yeah, I think we should go. I think we should go in reading order, which would put us. We read A Questionable Client, which is book 0.5. Hi, Bernadette.
Mm-hmm. Hi.
And
Bernadette is from my corner of the world. She's my in real life.
So Saturday morning for you. Yeah. We should add that this will be very spoilery, but also we won't be spoiling any of the future books, just what we're in the live show for. But yeah, if you haven't read them, we're going to spoil literally everything.
Yeah. And no apologies on that front either.
That's what I'm so excited about. Oh, wait.
Yeah, if you don't want spoilers, go and watch our wrap-ups. But yeah, this will be
our one sentence description.
Yeah,
Daniels is a mercenary, and she has a romance with Curran, the Beast Lord, in Atlanta.
Not yet, though.
But I feel like it's obvious.
It is.
You know,
like this is an urban fantasy for the first two books that doesn't really have a romance, but it's just filled with sexual tension between the two of them.
And banter.
And banter. It's great.
And banter.
All right. So we did read A Questionable Client, which is the 0.5 novella that
I totally forgot about that. We did.
That's good. Yeah. Did you read it in order? That might be why you forgot about it.
I did. Yeah. I read 0.5 first. That's why. I read that last month. That was my reward for finishing a book, I think.
Was it your reward for finishing Side Changeling?
It was. Thank you.
Yeah. And yes, it does take 3 books. It's great. And then we read Magic Bites and Magic Burns and also the Curran short stories that are interspersed with the first 2 books. So
love the Curran short stories.
Yes, they are great. All right. So A Questionable Client. So this was book 0.5, and this sort of sets up Kate as a mercenary. And it also sets up, and I always say his name wrong. Is it Simon?
Simon.
Man.
The audiobook says Simon, so I go with the audiobook.
Good. I'll go with the audiobook as well.
Narrators don't know what they're talking about. It's highly questionable.
Yeah. but it also has the introduction to the Volves in this one as well, which I'd completely forgotten. So they come up a lot more in later books.
Yep.
I was surprised to see them there because they almost then kind of disappear and then reappear books later. But I didn't feel like it added a ton, but it's so short that it didn't really matter. Like it wasn't.
I mean, anything with Simon is great though, because Simon is one of my favorite characters.
He's so creepy.
That's why I love him, because he's just so in his own world.
He's such a creepy little perv.
He's great.
Yeah. It is a fun one to pick up because it like what happens in it is referenced in the first book, and I'm not actually sure if it was written before or after the first book. And
I got the vibe that it was written after, but that could just be my own assumption.
Well, that's the way that I thought of it as well, because they make reference to this job that Kate does in the first book.
Yeah.
That brings her to the attention of Simon, and and this one sort of goes into exactly what happened, which is really Kate doing the thing that she hates doing as a mercenary, and that's bodyguard duty.
Bodyguard.
Because she doesn't trust people to do what she tells them to do, which
she doesn't trust the body that she has to guard. I love it.
I feel like Kate doesn't love most things about being a mercenary, to be honest. And I think it mainly is people not giving the full information, people not doing what she said. Yeah. Like she's constantly trying to evade death over something that possibly she could have been miles away from if people had been honest with her.
Yeah. And she really, she takes the job because she's getting paid really good money for something that...
That's why she takes all of her jobs.
Yep, exactly. So, I quite liked it because it introduced all of those characters, but I think I agree with this comment. Sometimes reading it beforehand, like the first time I read Magic Bites, I didn't read A Questionable Client first. I read it after.
Yeah, me either.
Which I think probably helped. But, it's just a fun little sidestep, I think. This is the one that introduces that Kate really likes chocolate, but chocolate's something that's really hard to come by in the world.
Yeah, that's true. It's true also.
Yes, and she brings up she hates bodyguard duty the whole way through the series as well. So it's just kind of, I think a lot of these 0.5s are just, those nice little sidesteps that give us extra information, but it doesn't necessarily impact significantly on the rest of the books.
Right. The interesting thing, honestly, about the Kate Daniels series is oftentimes you'll have a significant amount of time pass between books. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times you do have a 0.5 in there, but you can absolutely read the story without reading the 0.5s. I've done that, and it was easily understandable. But I don't think anything that they write is bad. So it's always worth your time if you're invested enough in the series to read all the 0.5s and the extras.
And I think if you're just starting out with Kate Daniels, it takes the first couple of books, I think, the first time you read it to really get into the world. And then as soon as you're invested, you want to know about all the other characters anyway, because they're all really fun and they all pop up all over the place.
I agree.
I had another thought and I've just completely forgotten what I was going to say. Anyway, but it's only super short, A Questionable Client, so it's just... And it also actually the other thing it introduces is Champion Heights, which is where Simon lives, and Kate spends quite a bit of time going there, and weird things happen to it in this second book, with the in Magic Burns. So, but it's significant. It's significant because it's one of the tallest standing buildings in a world where basically buildings really don't last very long due to all the magic.
Right, it shouldn't exist anymore, and the fact that it does shows that something is going on.
Yeah, and that there's probably significant magic behind it, which is a little bit of a clue to who Simon is later on in later books.
I thought that there was a pretty big clue in book 2, but we'll get to it.
I thought so too, but we'll get into that one.
All right. Are we done with The Questionable Client?
I think so. It's not super long. It's just sort of that extra bit of information.
It is.
All right. So, Magic Bites.
Okay. All right. I think that Magic Bites, I love it. And I loved it the first time around, but I do think it's the weakest book in the series. I also think that some of the things in it are pretty dated. Like I know right away when she's meeting the Knight of the Order or whatever, she calls him, she says he looked like he'd gone on a long Twinkie binge and an overweight slob who eats powdered jelly donuts. So there are things that definitely like fat phobic, but then she also talks about how it's camouflage expert extraordinaire. You really wouldn't view him as a threat, but he very much is a threat. And there were other things in the second book also that I noticed.
When they described the hyenas in the second book, there were some things.
Yeah.
I don't remember. You'll have to tell me.
We'll go into that in the second book. It's fine.
But that language isn't in their later books, and I think that's worth noting. That I feel like if you do have a problem with some of the language at the beginning, know that as time progresses and they evolve as authors, those things do kind of go away.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting noting that it is the weakest book in the series, and it's still a really solid read.
Yes.
I see people recommending to just skip it, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
It builds like the whole world, and it introduces a bunch of characters, as you can tell.
It does. And it has their meet cute.
It does have their meet cute. I'm going to talk about their meet cute. I freaking love their meet cute.
It's so great. And I was going to say the same. I'm the same with Bernadette. Like it was the weakest book because I think I read this the first time and then I didn't pick up the second book for months. But every time I reread it, there's something in it. I go, no, hang on. This is like now that I know the story and I know the world, coming back to it is actually really valuable.
Right.
Because I think there's so much that gets just hinted at in this first book. And even if it's not necessarily, the most solid in terms of moving the pace forward, it's still pretty good.
I definitely felt that way reading it again. I hadn't read it for 3 years or so. And then I just finished the series for the first time in July because I read like the first 6 or 7, I think 7, and also read a ton of other Ilona Andrews books and then kind of died out there. And it took me a while to pick it back up, like a couple of years. But having just finished the series, but not having read the beginning in so long, one, I remembered next to nothing about this book. And also, I was surprised that all the things that I enjoyed and kept my attention and maybe foreshadowed what was happening. And like we already talked about, how many characters are there for the entire series and who was just kind of a flash in the pan that just show up in this one book, and that was their whole arc.
Yeah. And it really had Nick. Yes,
Nick, I totally forgot he was a thing. I thought he died.
I forgot he was in the first book.
I haven't read all the books, so if he shows up later, I don't want to know. But
Nick
is an interesting character. Yeah,
never mind then. I was gonna ask Steph. Okay, Steph.
Yes.
The person in the last book that's kind of like with the Order.
Yes.
Is that him or is that somebody else? I can't remember for the life of me.
He pops up. He does pop up throughout the whole series. So yes.
Okay. So it's him.
Because
I was like, is this the same dude or am I just confusing Knights? I'm not sure.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of Knights.
Yeah, so this book, and in fact, the Knights have a really interesting plot line in later books because, in this book, we meet sort of all the major players in the world. So we meet the Order of Knights of Merciful Aid, which is a mouthful and I can never remember it. I had to look down at my notes. And then you've got
the Order.
Yeah, the Order. You've got the Mercenary Guild. You've got the people who control vampires.
And then you have
we get introduced to Pad.
The special something.
Yeah,
it's like the cops.
The paranormal. Paranormal Activity Division. Yeah, so PAD. And then you get introduced to the pack. So like there's all these, and then on top of PAD, there's also the regular police as well.
Yeah.
And so like the first time around, I think there's a lot of things that you like. That's why I think this book is probably not as tight as some of the others because there's everything that gets picked up, and it gets picked up really quickly because Kate sort of has to interact with everyone.
Plus, I think that this book, not only being in the beginning of the series, but I think it's also very close to the beginning of their writing career. I don't know what all they had before this. Like maybe 1 or 2 books. I haven't gone and looked at publication dates, but it's definitely early in their career.
Yeah.
I highlighted, I thought that this was kind of interesting. And if you've read the whole series, then I feel like you will understand why it is interesting. And if you haven't, it won't be a spoiler in any way. Can I find it? No, I cannot. Well, it's something about 9 people ruling the city the size of Atlanta and how that's not enough people for a territory that big. And it's talking about all the people who meet at that restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the heads of all the factions.
Yeah. I don't remember why they showed up, though. Like, what were we there for? Oh, there it is. Yeah, 9 people overseeing a city the size of Atlanta.
I thought they were talking about the order.
Knights and Protector, Diviner. Oh, yeah, you might be right.
They were saying that because they were like, people don't think the Knights are all that powerful until you realize it's 9 people that are taking care of the size of it, a city the size of Atlanta.
There you go. That's the context.
Yeah,
and I think part of what I inferred from that comment was that the Order either doesn't think much of Atlanta because or the person who's in charge of or Ted who's in charge of the Order, which is why they don't have as many knights when they should have, or that they think that Atlanta is too hard to like there's too much going on there. But I mean, not having seen the rest of the world outside of Atlanta, I don't know why that is.
I took it as like this is how powerful the Knights are.
Yeah.
And I mean, Greg had like 3 power words himself.
Yeah.
And they said having 1 is impressive. So like,
right.
I feel like they are actually, like you said, camouflage. They look like normal people, but they're actually like hella powerful people.
Right.
Yeah. I did write down all of the power words because I'm like, I got to keep track of this.
I remember 1, and that's because I just read it.
Well, because, and that's the other thing, because by the end of this book, Kate has 6.
I think so.
Yeah, she
already had some. Yeah.
She had 2. She had 2. She got 3 from Greg, and she picks up a 6th one.
She picks up 1 more in book 2 when she's fighting the big sea monster demon dude.
Yeah. So I did keep track of them because I find them really interesting. Yeah.
Oh, Ted. One of my least favorite people.
Did you guys ever like the Order? Because I have never ended up liking them.
I hate the Order.
Even though it's not that I hate everybody in it, but I've never, like, they've always been one of my least favorite factions, basically.
The way that they're described, Kate was literally like, hey, here's what the Order is. They do what they think is right, and if it means killing your grandma, then they will just murder your grandmother.
Well,
they have like no sympathy.
I think they're they do what they.
Well, yeah, they're the kind of the arm that will get the job done, but it doesn't matter about the collateral.
I feel like not only in this, but also in future books, Kate will be like, here is the problem. Here's point A to point B. And they'll be like, I don't think so. You know, like
and the other thing is we see the Order through Kate's lens, and Kate doesn't have a very strong opinion of the Order.
Yeah, she's not a fan of them to begin with.
Yeah, she's to it, and it's interesting to note that, you know, she did train for the Order, and she left because she didn't like the authority that they would have had over her. So we like everything we see from them is from her perspective.
I do love that she says she has a problem with authority. I wanted to talk about the terrible descriptions sometimes. Like, I think I marked one. I marked one in Magic Birds of just like, this is disgusting. Why are these things described this way? So, like,
to get a read.
Yeah. Where is it? Let me see.
I think the point is that living in a magical world isn't a fun time, and that the magical creatures are not unicorns and fairies. Like, they're not fun to be around. They're not only dangerous, but also often disgusting. I think that is a pretty prevalent part of the world that they set up.
I lost it. Where is it? Nope, that's not it.
Yes, Kate is very much a champion rule bender. The whole way through the series.
Megan, you can jump back on that when you find it, but I know that I talked about this in private, but I do feel like she had a crush on her guardian growing up, and that when she grew up, and that it was part of the reason why she was estranged from him, because he never reciprocated, which, I mean, good for him, but never reciprocated. I feel like it was a hurdle in the relationship. And yeah, I agree. I think that she was kind of embarrassed by his obvious disinterest as she became an adult. Steph, do you want a counterpoint?
No, well, not so much a counterpoint. I suppose I didn't read it that way, but I can see where people would pick up on it that way. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't read it that way. I thought their estrangement came from the fact that she, he'd set out a path for her, and she didn't follow it. And there was
I think that definitely played a part in it, a huge part in it. But I think that kind of the seeds, almost the initial disruption between the trust that they should have had in each other, was the fact that, because she says in the book, she says, I grew up and he didn't know this. And you could view that a couple different ways. One, her having a crush and him not reciprocating and still viewing her as a child. Or also just, I'm an adult now. You can't choose what I'm going to do with my life. You can't choose what I'm going to do with my day or my powers or how I'm going to stay safe. And he didn't see it that way. He was still trying to parent an adult.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't see it as like a crush, like I'm going to pursue him when I'm an adult, but I saw it as like a childhood crush. Like, if you have like your older sibling's friend or something, or a person that's like a family friend that you're like, oh, they're pretty or they're cute or whatever, but like you're
I feel like she never made a move on him or anything, but I feel like she probably did moon eyes and stuff, and it was kind of definitely brushed off as like, no, that's not happening.
And look, she has so few people in her life as well, like her emotional growth or her relationship growth. Like, she has a very limited number of people, particularly growing up. So
I feel like she dives into that internally in Magic Bites, and then to Curran in Magic Burns. I think she really kind of goes over that. I see the reason why I don't just view it as idol worship is because idol worship, you want that person's approval so badly that you'll probably do what they want you to do. And she obviously wasn't doing that. And that was part of their problem.
Yeah. All right. Oh, I know.
To everybody's favorite part? No? No?
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite part?
Everyone's favorite part?
I have my favorite parts, yeah.
Maybe not your favorite parts in the comments. Oh, look, my favorite part in it is the meet cute.
Me too.
How can you not like that scene?
I think I love the comparison of how Kate sees it versus how Curran sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So,
oh my God. Do you have a quote?
I think I do, yeah. Okay, so she says, diplomacy was never my strong suit and my patience had run dry. I crouched and called out, here, kitty, kitty. 2 gold eyes ignited on the opposite wall, shape stirred. And she's just like, kind of like, I'm so brave, but this guy's big. And then, I think in Curran's, she goes, here, kitty, kitty. And his first thought was, oh my God, she's an imbecile and I'm going to kill Jim.
I know. Yes, that's exactly. I was going to say, I just found it. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking at too. I'm like,
I just love that, like, it makes Kate seem kind of brave and, like...
Yeah, and he's
just like, you're such an idiot.
I'm literally living with I'm dealing with someone too stupid to live.
I will never trust Jim ever again.
Which I love, too, that she is so impressed, because I think that you can kind of get desensitized, especially if you read the whole series through, to how impressive Curran is, but like how she was shocked out of her mind at the way that he could transform back and forth right away, how he could transform just a part of his body, and how she was like, literally, if you asked me yesterday, I would have said it was impossible for a shifter to do that, and yet here he's literally acting like it's not even difficult for him.
Yeah, no shape changer went from a beast into a human without a nap. Into a mid-form, yes, but Beastman had trouble talking. Yeah, but he was just like, no, I'm good. What's up?
So she didn't think she was going to have to deal with him when he showed up in his lion form. She didn't think that he was...
She's like, he can't be a lion, because if he's a lion, we're not getting anything done.
I love that he's a gray lion. Like a gray... Isn't he striped? Doesn't he have
stripes?
They said he's
like, yeah, they said he's striped like a tiger. That he looks like a lion.
I love that he's like that.
So the one thing that my book has in the back of it, or this edition has in the back of it, it has a frequently asked questions section, which is what's Curran's beast, and then it has the all the explanations about the factions. It has the quiz, which we're going to do later on, guys. We're going to do the faction quiz and see where we all come out. Then it's got the point of views, and it's got a questionable client. So like this much of the book is extra content, but. It says Curran transforms into Panthera leo atrox, which is a prehistoric American lion.
Love that.
That's why he's such a big boy, because he's prehistoric.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Plus, the shifters are bigger than their animal, than the natural animal form of their animal. Anyways, it talks about that.
I thought they did say that because they mentioned in, I think it might have been Magic Burns, but I don't know, because Derek gets hurt a lot. That Derek was only about 150 pounds as a wolf, like a full wolf. And that seems about what he would be as a human. About 150 pounds.
But it was like twice as big as what a wolf would be, I think, though, is what it
That's true. That's true.
However, in comparison to Curran, it's like ridiculously not
Curran's beast form where he's like freaking 8 to 10 feet tall. Oh my God. Yeah. No, that's a terrifying person.
And not to talk spoilers for later in the series, but it's kind of significant, the type of lion, like this idea of this prehistoric lion as well. So I think it's just interesting.
I'm trying to think of what you mean by that, and I've got nothing.
Also,
I'm not going to say anymore because that's.
Yeah, remember that you're going to have to message me, not in the group chat.
Not in the group chat.
And not in Megan's chat either.
That's what I'm saying.
Send you a voice message.
We gotta cut Megan out, and then you can tell me. I kind of like that Curran is not ridiculously tall in his human.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
he's like under 6 feet.
Yeah, he's 5'10", kind of
5'11" for a romance hero. Especially a shifter, they're usually like 6'5", 6'4", and he is like super muscular and stuff. Still,
like imagine him being a hella swole 5'11".
Well, and I love that he's only like 2 inches taller than her, or like 3 inches taller than her. Like it's not a huge difference. But then in his beast form, he's like ridiculous.
I do like that her goal in life is to like stay under the radar.
Right.
And he insists that she wants spotlight and that she's like a showboater. And he's just no,
true.
I'm doing this for attention. And she's like literally the opposite.
That's so true. I kind of didn't think about that being the opposites of each other. I'm just like, you're an asshole. But I kind of forgot that not only is it just completely the wrong impression, but it's literally the opposite of her entire goal in life.
Yeah.
Which,
and part of that is that her need to buck authority, and he automatically comes in from a position of authority. And I mean, that's where we get all this answer from, is she just can't help herself from reacting like that, which almost gives her the impression of someone who would go out there and would sass everyone. But in fact, she's only really doing it because he's an alpha character, and she doesn't react well to it as well.
Yeah. And then also the code, like she's like, I know they have to follow the code so they don't go insane.
Yeah,
right. But Jesus, I hate the structure.
And that leads perfectly into the pack meeting. I forgot how mad I was when she met the pack and how Derek acted and how Curran acted. And I was like, literally, like, and like she talks about how like she didn't, she mishandled it. But from
they both mishandled
perspective, I'm just like, the rest of y'all mishandled it. Like she was doing the best she had with the information she had, and you all shouldn't invest with her like that. Yeah. And obviously a lot of why Kate is trying to fly under the radar, we don't know for several books, but it is definitely indicated right from the very beginning that she's we know mid-level mercenary on purpose. She's not so bad that she fails her job.
I strive to be mediocre as long as I'm mediocre, but I have enough money to pay my now 2 mortgages. Jesus.
Yes.
I'll be fine.
And I forgot
we'll come to the date
that Derek wasn't supposed to touch her. None of them were. They were supposed to intimidate her, but they weren't supposed to touch her, like in the Coliseum thingy-mabobber. And he did, and that's when she snapped. And so, if Derek had followed the rules, Kate maybe wouldn't have mishandled the situation.
I mean, she was like good until he touched her, and she's like, "Oh, we're touching now. Okay,
right?
All like gloves off. Let's do this."
Yeah.
Well, and one, I think it's because I think it specifically says, the shifters wouldn't do anything that the Beast Lord hadn't given them direct permission to do. So when he touched her, she was like, "Crap! Like, I can't believe he let it go this far. This is not good. Like, what option do I have? They could literally kill me."
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting seeing how Derek goes from that character, even his growth in the first 2 books.
Mm-hmm.
I agree,
because
I love Derek.
Oh, he's great.
He's a good kid.
I love him so much. I think that this kind of made me dislike Curran a little bit too. No, not that I ever really disliked him, but in this book, when he's just like, "I like the kid, but I will kill him if you don't handle it because I won't have a choice. I have to maintain power structure." I was just like, it's interesting because Derek is the main character for most of the series, right? And so you don't view him as dispensable like that, especially not in the main character's point of view. You're like, no, he's one of your guys. And he's just like, yeah, I'll kill him if you.
But realistically, he wasn't. Like he wasn't
at that point.
An 18-year-old, something like that. He was just like an 18-year-old kid who couldn't listen to directions and then had to pay for it.
We don't have the perspective, or we don't have the understanding yet of, and I suppose those of us who have reread it, we do.
Right.
But at that point, Kate also hasn't met the rest of the Pack Council, who also have really strong views on how you maintain sort of cohesion and you follow the rules in the Pack. So Kate has her knowledge of the Pack, but she doesn't actually understand the politics inside the Pack yet either.
She didn't even realize that Jim was like literally on the council. Like he is one of the top dogs. She didn't know that. She was just
and she works with him all the time. She considers him sort of a pseudo, like a friend.
Right.
And had no idea about.
Yeah. She was like, "Oh, this is why he has to run off." She just thought that he was like Pack business. What a dick. And then she was like, "Oh, you're important. Holy crap. When did that happen?" I also hate how they describe Jim every time they describe Jim, because they describe him a lot. Like every time he enters a room, they're like, "Oh, that sweet, sultry voice." But, ooh, that face, though. Like every time. I'm just like, poor Jim. Poor Jim. They call him ugly every single time they mention Jim. Like they're like, he's tall, dark, menacing with this awesome voice, but God, that face. And I'm like, that's so messed up. Every time.
I think that's part of their not great descriptions of people in this beginning.
Like, if they said it like once, maybe. Yeah, if they said it like once, maybe I think it'd be okay. But I was mentioned, I think two or three times in both books, and I was like, do we need to keep harping on the fact that Jim is not like attractive human? Because that just seems mean at this point.
Right. Well, I know even like in the first book, Kate talks about how if I overloaded on eyeliner and mascara, I could easily pass for a gypsy, which is a slur and a stereotype, like such a stereotype. If I put on enough eye makeup, then you would think I was a gypsy. And like stuff like that doesn't really show up in the later books. I think that a lot of that stuff was very its time, and you can't really judge it for being a product of its time, but you can also point out,
2007.
Hey, we're not a fan anymore.
The early 2000s.
And I think, you know, the important thing is you recognize it now and you go, okay, well, it is a product of its time. It doesn't make it okay, but also there's context around it,
right?
And as long as you're willing to talk about it and go, okay, well, it's not okay now. That's fine,
right? I mean, I know this is definitely a belief I have. I think that you, to a certain extent, because you are always responsible for your own actions, you can always choose to treat people with decency and humanity. But you are a product of the society you lived in. If you lived 300 years ago, you would probably think that a woman's greatest purpose in life was getting married and having children, because that's what you were taught your entire life. And even if you weren't thrilled with it, that's how it is. Think of England, you know, like that was just like, you do believe what you were taught to a certain extent. And so I think it's hard to be like, like I wouldn't cancel Ilona Andrews because 20 years ago they were writing less than great things, whereas they have fixed it in more recent books for sure.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about where was it? The date?
Yeah.
I want to talk
about something
Crest.
else.
I have a lot of time
the date. Crest.
Okay.
I forgot all about him, first of all. And then I was like, did she
Crest.
date him for like 3 books? Like, I can't remember what's happening.
Nope, it was just the one book.
Did he do it? I'm telling you, I couldn't remember anything.
And then for some reason, he got just so butthurt that she accused him of being a murderer and a rapist.
I love it. That was Curran that told him, right? Or was it Derek or Jim?
Actually, do you know the thing that bothered me the most of everything was the fact that Curran got angry at Kate for pointing the finger at Crest when she was not actually the one who did it. He was the one who did it.
Yeah, because I was like, she didn't. The first time I was like, oh, Kate, but then I read this the second time and I was like, wait a second, not Kate. Kate didn't do anything.
That's
like he was the one that was like,
she was really she was really reluctant to say
but she did think about it and then came with it. But you're right, she didn't come up with it all by herself.
But she wouldn't have gone to confront him if it hadn't been Curran going, no, we need to find out. And they took everyone with them. Like,
I think too many people.
I think that's the point where his position as Beast Lord and needing to be seen making the right decisions and not trusting Kate and not knowing her, and then also just his own not audacity. What's the arrogance? Maybe that's what I'm looking for. The man one. No. His own arrogance really kind of played in there, which again, you see these characters mature so much because the 10 books covers quite a few years and a lot of events. But I was just like you're getting in your own way here, sir.
Yeah. I just can't believe that Kate for once was actually trying to be diplomatic when she was like, hey, Crest, we need your blood. I know there's a lot of people. I didn't ask for all of these people to be here. And then he's like, so what did I do? And she was like, well, you see. And then one of the boys was literally just like, rape, murder, pillage, cause general what? Rape and eat people. Mm-hmm. And he was like, excuse me? Like I would also be like, never talk to me ever again, honestly.
Oh, see, I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be
because he was overreacting. And then I thought about it and I was like, if someone accused me of that, I too would be like, yeah, we're done here, bye.
But in a world where literally monsters can wear your skin and, you know, be in disguise, and where you can't trust anybody or anything and they can all kill you at any point, I feel like if you live long enough in that world, you have to view everything as kind of a survival tactic. And you're like, yeah, it makes sense to question everything when literally somebody's trying to go around killing you. So
I wouldn't want to keep dating someone who legitimately thought that like I could be capable of this.
It was early. He was a dick. It's fine.
Steph agrees with me. Steph said right.
He was a dick.
But going back to the date, that whole sequence with the date where she's with Crest in the restaurant and Curran's there with what's her name?
Myung.
Yeah.
That was just so funny, because a close second to the meet cute with Here Kitty Kitty is the send him a bowl of milk.
That was amazing. I love that she sent him a bowl of milk.
Go ahead, because I'm gonna say
I found it interesting that like who Curran thought was the better person at that date between Crest and Kate was the total opposite of who Myung thought was the better person at the table.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so true. I like his POV of Fernandez, where he's like, I was in the restaurant I didn't like among people I couldn't stand, and I was bored. And then he talks about how Kate's date is handsome, staring at her, his mouth hanging slightly open. You and me both, brother. And then he's like, come on, fancy lad, stand up, say something charming. Did they not teach etiquette at Little Lord's Academy? Like, he is just in his head, he couldn't stand this person.
Yeah, because he's the Beast Lord, so he's in charge of the pack, but he's very much a down to earth sort of character as well. He's very blue collar.
Yeah. Right.
So, he's wearing jeans and a t-shirt.
Yeah,
and everyone's there,
and no one would say anything to him because they're all terrified of him.
Because he's the Beast Lord. Like, I do love that Crest did not know that was the Beast Lord.
And he was trying to stare him down.
Yeah, he was like, bring it, bro. And Kate's like, please don't. You will not win this fight.
But actually, that's an interesting...
Go ahead.
It's an interesting point because, like, Kate knows a lot about the magical side of the world because she's made it her business to know. So she knows that there is a Beast Lord. Like, she didn't know who Curran was initially, but she knew that there was a Beast Lord and
the position
and whatever. Yeah. But the idea that most people in Atlanta they know that there is someone who's in charge of the pack, but they would never have met him either because he also tends to stay out of the city.
I also think it's very interesting that the public information was that there was about 300 shifters, and there was a lot more than that when she stumbled in on them. And she was like, "Oh, that's a bad."
That would have been a great alternate universe story of him stealing her away from her date and going to get burgers. Great AU. Someone needs to write that. Write that and send it to me. I want to read that.
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that he was just like, Kate's too good for this dude. He has no manners. He thinks he's so important.
He was like, Gods, man, act like you've been out with a lady before.
And meanwhile, Myung is just like, her dress is so 2 seasons ago, and he is obviously better than her because he has money and and he seems familiar with the staff. And I'm like, you could tell nothing was going to happen with
I was going to say,
either of those couples.
What a poor match they were.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that I suppose is important for the series, and it comes up in the second book, but it starts in this one, is the idea of food and the pack relationships, because it starts in this book because Kate feeds him Chinese food. Because
and she sends them a saucer of milk. So I mean, ultimately,
yes, well, that too.
I do love that he just kind of steals her food originally. That she was like, "Here, is this for Derek?" Because he is injured. Because he's always injuring himself.
I love that she was so offended.
He's the teenage sidekick.
Yeah, and
the werewolf.
And then Curran's just like, "My fried rice," and she's like, "Excuse yourself."
Yeah.
He just constantly invites himself into her space.
Yeah. Which was always been one of my favorite things.
To prove that he could get around her wards.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I can break into your house. And she's like, try it. And he's like, okay. And just freaking through the roof.
They're literally, it's so funny because they're two people who don't do displays of power just for the sake of doing displays. They're not cocky in that way. But when it comes to each other, especially at the beginning, they're just like, bet, I'm going to show you. Literally, I'm going to do this thing for no other reason than to show you up. Like, it's great. I forgot how early in the book Olathe, Roland's concubine, I forgot how early that showdown happened.
I completely forgot that she
very end of the book.
I forgot.
Me too.
Yeah, I forgot that.
I totally remembered there being vampires on the ceiling and Kate like holding up the roof and everybody escaping. And I don't think I remembered that Curran saved her, but I remembered that part. But literally everything else with it, I was like, oh,
I think I thought it was. Yeah, I think I thought it was in a different book. Actually,
I did too. I was like, oh, we're
I thought it was booked. I thought it was in a later book because but
I wonder if something similar doesn't happen later.
Could be.
I don't know.
But I mean, I think the whole point of that setup was the idea that one, we find out that Kate has the ability to control the vampires if she really tries to do it, and also that she is terrified of anyone finding out anything to do with her and about managing her injuries and if she bleeds and things like that, which is a really good introduction to Doolittle and the fact that he's really like he follows sort of the magical
Doolittle.
doctor. He's such a good character.
Which they actually do talk about that in A Questionable Client, and right at the beginning she talks about how she's used to having to destroy any trace of her blood, any of her bandages.
She brings like gasoline or kerosene with her. Like almost everywhere she goes, she has like a vial of like gasoline or kerosene.
Yeah, like a canteen. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like that when we get the introduction to, or when she wakes up in the pack infirmary after that all happens, and she starts freaking out about the fact that someone else treated her and whatever, and he's like, no, I follow the rules. Everything has been destroyed, blah blah blah. And I thought that was a nice way of showing that, particularly since all of her interactions with the pack at this point have been relatively antagonistic. Mm-hmm. And this was just, I think, in a lot of ways, Doolittle is her way into sort of the more, I don't know, family side of the pack, or the way that they look after each other. But anyway.
Right. I think they talk a lot about how if you're in the pack, they'll do anything for you. And if you're out of the pack, you don't matter. You're automatically second. And
they start treating her like a member of the pack.
Yeah, right. Because she got front of the pack status.
Yeah. Right.
But so you said Doolittle, and it reminded me of Curran in the water tank. And him just propositioning her. He's like, "Gotta come swim." Also,
as he's like regrowing skin.
For the first like 2 books. I don't know if she continues to be horny, but I know for at least the first 2 books, she was just so horny all the time.
Well, because she hadn't slept with anybody in forever.
I just think that's funny. But she's just like,
I think it's interesting how in the first couple books, it's like every powerful male that she comes across is like, hey, you want to do it with me? Because like, we'd make powerful babies. And I feel like that dies down a little bit, maybe because she's then in a relationship, or maybe because they're more scared of her. But I feel like at the beginning, it's like everybody's like, hey, you're not bad looking. You feel kind of powerful. Yeah. Let's do it.
I do love that Simon will consistently, he tries to seduce her, but in like the worst way. Because he's like, I will change into the person you most desire. And it's like, yes, but you can tell that the changing portion literally makes her want to puke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, afterward you're hot, but you got that whole front part in. That's not good foreplay, bro.
Like, can you just imagine? Can you imagine? Because I feel like as soon as you would touch him, your brain would like replay the movement, and you would like feel the movement, and it would be like, oh, can't do it.
Yeah,
can't do it.
She's like, I cannot puke on his carpet. I cannot puke on his carpet. And I'm just like, and then he's like, hey baby, how you doing? And I'm like, no, that's not how you flirt with people.
Yeah. And also part of it, in a lot of ways, I think they're 2 really similar characters, because as soon as you tell them no, they work really hard to try and prove the opposite. And so in a lot of ways, Kate has said there's nobody that you could change into that would make me interested in any way, shape or form. Yes, it's part of sort of the gross factor of the changing, but also I know you and I know you're not doing it because you actually like me. You're doing it because I've said no to you.
Yeah.
I think that it is pointed out, though, that he doesn't really get told no, because most of the time, if you, or at least in the books, if you see somebody that is the epitome of what you find attractive and they're propositioning you, it seems like he's really not used to anybody not being into it.
I feel like that she finds something to nitpick every time he's like the perfect specimen.
I know.
So she's just like, the eyes are too far apart. The boobs are too big.
But
the waist is just a little too small for realistic proportions.
It also talks about how sometimes she's like almost tempted, but she's like, yeah, no, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Do you know who I forgot was introduced in this book, who's important for the second book, sort of, is Red. The
Red.
street kid.
I hate Red. He's the worst.
I've got a rant about him in the next book. But I completely forgot that he was introduced in this book and that he was the one who helped Kate with Derek when Derek was injured. Again.
Yes.
Again.
In fact,
Derek's always injured. Poor Derek.
In the second book, I was like, when did he exit? Because it seems like we're seeing you a lot. And then he exited and I was like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
I think that, first of all, here, I want to say that this is the first book, but she does have 6 power words, 4 given by Greg and 2 others, mine and release. But then it says, maybe the power of the blood grew with age, because it talks about how when she got the first 2 when she was 12, she almost died, and now she can do more. And I thought that was interesting for obvious reasons that we won't say. And then I have my favorite scene.
What's your favorite scene? We were doing over mine.
The kiss is my favorite. At the end of the first book, when they're attacking good old what's his face, Bono, the Uber. Oh, I forgot about the Bone Dragon too.
I really forgot about the Bone Dragon right now again. Yeah, that was the thing.
I was like, oh, that's cool.
Well, there was a lot of sort of weird things in that fight sequence at the end. There was a lot going on.
There always is, but there was definitely a lot for that one. I also like how it talks about how everything has a flaw and a liability. Each one is unique as long as you can find the one thing that will take this magical creature or person down. There's always one, because nature kind of built in that failsafe.
Yeah, no one is completely unstoppable. You just need to know.
But a lot of things are so powerful that you have to be very specific with their one thing. If you don't do it exactly right, you're not going to inflict lasting damage. All right. Anything else? Or are we doing our scenes?
Well, I was going to say I can do a scene. I was going to go, my most relatable scene was the scene where they talk about what happened to the alpha wolf, because he had stepped or tripped on his set of kids' Legos blocks. And broke 2 ribs and an ankle, and he was out of commission for 2 weeks.
I love that. She was like, "What's a Lego?" And he was like a small plastic toy.
He's an alpha wolf shifter.
My Legos are in the Lego cave in the basement, and when I tell you that has been my single greatest parenting decision, because I never step on a Lego, and they're like some of my kids' favorite toys, and it's completely out of sight, out of mind. I don't even make them pick it up, whatever. Like every once in a while, I make them pick it all up and I vacuum. But when I tell you that they are so lethal, like if you have ever stepped on one, you absolutely see why they put it in there, because it's like the greatest pain.
It's like the greatest torture device invented that kids love to play with.
Yep. I found Heather's favorite scene. I did mark it. I marked it as important.
Of course you did. It's a good one.
Yep. He grabbed me and kissed me. The kiss sent a wave of heat.
It's my favorite scene. You don't get to read it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you find it? Did you write it down?
I had it the whole time.
Okay, Heather, read your favorite scene.
Read your favorite scene.
I wasn't rushing us into the scenes if we weren't there yet.
We already read my favorite. I literally went and found it on the internet.
What was it?
What's the first? Your kitty. Oh God, she's an imbecile. I'm gonna kill Jim.
Oh, is that why you stole my thunder there? So it was yours. All right. Well, I gotta read this one.
We're going organic with it, okay? When it comes, it comes. Organic. Go ahead.
Okay, Tim. He grabbed me and kissed me. The kiss sent a wave of heat from my lips all the way to my toes. Curran's eyes laughed. For luck, he whispered, his breath a hot cloud in my ear. Is this? Oh, yeah. I don't know if this is the same one. Is this the same one? This might be a different thing. But thanks, I wish I could push myself farther and reach Curran. Maybe I'd have someone to fight with in the afterlife if we went together.
Nope, that's a different one.
Oh. It's like 30% later, I think.
Yeah, this one ends with Curran saying for luck and laughing at her.
Yeah. But then after that, when she's like dying by the bone dragon, then she's like, it was a hell of a kiss. And like, partners claim me. I love how she's like, maybe we could fight together. I also like, this is, I think, also in the first book. And it's Nick talking to her. And it says, if I were on my own, packing some power, and for some reason not wanting to be found, I might lay low for a while, but I know that sooner or later I'd have to come out and play because whoever's looking for me would eventually find me. I'd start building some connections. The thing about a lone wolf, once you corner it, has no one to turn to. And I don't know if that was almost said to her at a point in her life when she was ready to listen to it, or, you know, if it was less fate than that. But I thought that was a very interesting thing that was brought up.
Yeah. I was going to say, the other thing that I really like in the series is there's a lot of references to a lot of pop culture references, but not like big ones, just like things that will outlast time, like the fact that they reference Where the Wild Things Are when Doolittle introduces himself. And like, if you know, you know, but it's just a nice little thing that's sort of hidden inside the book. So I like that scene too. All right. Should we talk about Magic Burns?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're an hour into it. We should probably.
Well, we did say we will talk.
Yeah. We already knew this.
We have lots of fun.
Hey, I'm here all night.
I am.
I was abandoned for Magic the Gathering, so I'm also here all night.
I've got nowhere else to go. I love the opening scene with Kate and Jim and the salamander, and the fact that at the end of it, Jim gets called off again and she's like,
stinking Jim.
Dead body, magical lizard.
And she figured it out.
Decapitation.
She came up
and
with
the answer is just, let's chop off the head of the dead body.
Here's proof. Here's proof of the dead body. I love that. Yeah. They're just like, where's the rest of him, Kate? But she's a good person, because the guy was like, oh, Jim left you, sucks for him, so you just want one ticket to get all the money? And she's like, no, give me two so he can get his money too. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a good person.
See, that's the thing, though, that like makes my heart hurt through the whole series, because people really don't trust her. Like even Jim really doesn't trust her, and she never backstabs. Like she really has so much loyalty and so much just, this is the right thing to do. This is the kind thing to do. It's not, I think that she's one of those characters that is a good framework for the difference between being nice and being kind. She is kind, but she's not always going to be nice to you.
Yeah.
But
well, she's a good person.
She's a good person, and people just do not trust her. And that continues to be a theme throughout the whole series. But I'm just like, but guys, you can trust her. You should be being so nice to her right now. And they never are. And it makes me mad.
It's like she will burn down the world if you are one of her people. Mm-hmm. And she will make sure that you are okay.
And if you're not one of her people, she's still going to do her very best to rescue you and save you and protect you, because she can't just not do it. But if you're her person, she will literally murder millions of people and be happy about it.
I found one of the many mean descriptions of Jim. It's literally on the first page. It says, "Rise and shine, Kate." The smooth, cultured voice on the line suggested a slender, elegant, handsome man. All things Jim was not. Like, wow. Like, oh, do you hear this awesome voice and you picture this perfect guy? And no, Jim is not that.
Part of me wonders if that is also skewed through Kate's lens, though, because he constantly leaves her in the middle of jobs. And even though he's a friend, she's just like, yeah, he should be all of these things, but he's not.
Yeah, I can see that.
This reminds me, how far away is Atlanta from Savannah? Because she goes back and forth a lot.
On the ley line, though.
No, sometimes it's not on the ley line. It's only on the ley line if the magic's up.
That's true. But it doesn't take her several hours, though. Like, she drives, like, through the night because she just needs a break. Because she talks about how it's too far away to just commute. Way to go, Megan.
I was going to say, I'd offer to help, except geography, even where I am, is not my strong suit. So overseas geography is not going to be.
I am directionally challenged.
I'm looking it up right now.
See, I want to know how far out of the city the keep is. Because the keep's out of the city as well.
It's like
Atlanta, Georgia.
I found this
Savannah, Georgia.
Are we getting an accent just because we're saying southern?
It's about 4 hours.
Okay. Alexa. Thanks, Alexa. Thanks, Carrie.
I mean, it would make sense that
they
wouldn't mess up such a key detail.
Yeah. Because that's what I was thinking. I thought it was almost an hour for her to get to the keep. So 45 minutes.
There you go.
Also, Andrea's introduced in this book. I love Andrea.
I love Andrea.
And so is Julie.
And we get to see more of Aunt B, which is perfect.
Yes. I forgot that this is where Andrea, I knew Andrea was introduced in this book, but I forgot that this is where we find out that she is Beastkin in this book. I'm like, this is really early. I thought we found this out later.
I forgot everything about how we were introduced to her.
Yeah.
I love her.
Absolutely everything.
And I find it really, going back to our conversation around the order and the fact that they only have 9 members in Atlanta, they're technically only utilizing 8 of them because Ted won't send Andrea out.
Ted's the worst. We hate him.
Ted is the worst.
He can choke a guy.
Andrea is kick-ass. I love her.
And she's like so good at her job.
Yeah.
Like there's literally no reason that he should be keeping her on probation like that.
Yeah. Her story does advance really quickly.
Yeah.
Now, Heather, have you read Andrea's book?
No, I'm excited.
I didn't even know she had a book.
It's 5.5, but it's a full novel. Yeah. It's so good. Oh, I'm so excited for you guys to read that one.
Yeah.
Ted is the worst.
Ted sucks. Down with Ted.
Ted sucks. All right. So we have the introduction of Andrea. We have the introduction of Julie.
I remembered some of the stuff with the introduction of Julie, but I definitely forgotten. I'd forgotten all about Red, and I had forgotten kind of the stuff with her mom. I forgot that her mom was like a witch. I remembered all the stuff about like her mom is missing and Kate is trying to find her mom and ultimately doesn't. And that's how Julie came. And I remembered the Warren, but I'd forgotten some stuff. And there's some more language there that like they say the R word or Julie does. There's more language that wouldn't be in it now. But Julie was an interesting combination of distrusting and also like went and slept and ate her food and all the things. Did kind of treat her as a safe space.
Yeah.
I think Julie's character is interesting as you go through the series because I don't think she ever truly lets go of the distrust in terms of thinking people are going to disappear on her.
Right.
I think she comes to trust Kate and everyone, really... but she never sort of lets go of this idea of she is independent, I suppose, and that she has to make sure she's looking out for herself as well, even though she knows that Kate cares about her and would look after her. Mm-hmm. So I think that's interesting because it's really evident here. And yeah, Red is just actually Red and Julie are just creepy. Ugh.
Oh yeah, because he's like 7. No, he's 15 and she's 13, and it's creepy.
Obviously is not a big age gap, but is when you're
propositioning sex, there's a big difference.
But he was also saying that he wanted to wait a few years, and obviously, unlike what you would normally think when a teenage boy is telling a girl, sex wasn't really his end game. He really was all about the power. That was all he cared about, and that was the only reason why he cared about her.
Yeah.
When he left, I was just like, good riddance to bad rubbish.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he's a product of his environment.
It's an age thing as much as kids can be awful human beings. It makes my heart hurt so much when it's like, if the adults in their life had done what they should, this kid would be a decent human being, but they didn't. And this is the result. And, my husband at one point worked at a court-ordered school, and I mean, I would let him tell me about things because he needed to decompress. It was a very bad environment, but at the same time, I hated hearing the stories because every single one is like, yeah, like what this kid is doing is not good. But like if they had the home that we're giving our children, they would be totally fine. Yeah. Sad. And that's how I feel about Red. Like, ultimately, he's kind of on the shit list because of what he tried to do to Julie. And also, Kate specifically says that power is all he cares about. He can't be saved past that. That has become his God, is literally all he can see. But I'm also just like, but he's a 15-year-old kid, and I hate that.
Yeah. I agree. The honeycomb freak. Actually, every time I read it, the honeycomb freaks me out.
Yeah.
Actually, the honeycomb, and there's later in the series, there's another part of the city that also freaks me out. Unicorn Lane, not so much, but the honeycomb just eats people.
You don't want to be on the outside.
People.
Just eats things, and people just
eat them though, because you can like hear them. I feel like it puts them like in another, not dimension, but almost a pocket.
Speaking of eating people, real fast, going back to the other book, the prison that ate the prisoners.
Mm-hmm. And they were like, they completely ignored it.
Yeah, they're like, we hear voices in the walls, and they're like, whatever, prisoners, and then it's like, and then they were eaten.
Yeah,
it's kind of symptomatic of the world. It's very telling that it's like, oh yeah, we've got these places that will possibly eat you, but you might have to live there. Sorry.
Yep. And then White Street had snow for like a full year or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, in the middle of summer.
In the middle of summer.
I think all the magical things, and especially the things where you can tell that they took things from mythology from all over the world, and that's very interesting. The thing that I think is the most powerful is that all of the horrible things that humans do to each other and the horrible conditions that we can be forced to live in, all of those things can happen in our world and do happen in our world. And that's why it is powerful in a magical setting where it's like, yeah, they literally have nowhere else to go, and some of you dying is better than all of you dying. So
yeah, no, definitely.
Didn't they say that was Ted's thinking? That's why she didn't want to bring Ted into a lot of things, because he was like, kill the few to save the many or whatever.
Kind of the whole order.
Yeah, but it's mostly
it's a very
Ted.
order mentality.
Like she was, because she was like, I trust Ted. Andrea to protect my kid. I don't trust Ted with this kid.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, that's because Ted is the worst.
Ted is the worst.
And I think it highlights that, because Kate has this opinion of the order, which is maybe justified. We don't really get any other perspective except for maybe Andrea's perspective. And Andrea is obviously very sort of modern and forward thinking in the way that she, even though she has been wronged by the order, she still has a lot of faith in her job. But when Kate brings Julie in, Andrea helps her to find the loophole so that Julie will be safe from anything that happens afterwards, which is a nice way to see it, so that Kate does have an ally within an organization where she doesn't really feel like she has any allies.
And I think that the fact that Andrea got hurt so incredibly badly and did so much to try and protect Julie is really what gave them such a deep relationship. Like, not the whole thing, but it definitely set up the beginning to where they could grow into best friends and friends. Like, and it's because right from the beginning, Andrea was willing to do something for Kate and for a child, which obviously is kind of a, I don't know, it's a spot for Kate where she doesn't like people messing with kids. And so there was a lot of trust and kind of debt built there where it was like, okay, you are somebody that unless you give me a reason to despise you, we have a lot in common and you've already done something for me.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
What do you guys think of Bulgur the shepherd?
He vaguely reminded me of Davy Jones.
Tentacles.
Like Davy Jones's like nerdy brother.
Nerdy.
Scrawny nerdy brother. That's what I thought of. That's how they described him. They were like, it's this dude in a hood that occasionally had tentacles, but he just, all of the people who power the vampires, I see them as like little nerdy computer people, basically.
Yeah. Well, because they're using other things, other weapons.
Because they're using their brain
to show their power.
Like they're like the bigger the brain, the better the driver. And I'm like, all right, okay, cool. That's how I see Gastek.
Which book is it? Oh, it's in this one. Gastek.
Yeah.
Gastek. And Derek bickering constantly, but also I love when they're like, oh crap, he is losing control of the vampire, and he's like, I burned my tongue on the espresso that my intern brought me.
I love the little like Scooby-Doo trio of Gastek, Derek, and Kate makes me laugh so much because it happened in the first book too for a little bit. Gastek like came in, and I
actually really like Gastek, and I also really like Rowena from The People. Like
I do too.
Just because, particularly when you later on, you find out a lot more of his story, and I think you kind of understand him. But at this point, he is really just this. He comes across as being he's climbing the ladder within the People. And he will eventually have more power, but he genuinely likes working with Kate, and he does because he sent he always goes to her with warnings of things and whatever. And I mean, one of my favorite scenes is when he's got the vampire sitting in the office, like when Julie first comes to the order and the vampire's in her office, but then she's like, just stay there, and uses the vampire's teeth as a hole punch for the paper.
I highlighted that.
That was hilarious.
You wouldn't do that with someone who controls a vampire if you didn't at least trust that they wouldn't retaliate.
I love in that scene where he's like, your smile has a disturbing edge to it.
You just made me realize Gastek took a vampire to Savannah to tell her to check on Greg.
Yeah.
That's a long range.
That's about 300 miles according to Google.
Yeah. And that's the thing. He's set up as a really powerful necromancer, essentially.
Yes, and someone who definitely is a career people. Order of the people person.
But he's also not someone who's trying to grab power that's not within his scope. Like he's very much a company person.
Right, he's a company man.
But he also doesn't. He likes to go around the rules. Because Kate was like, what did happen to the vampires while like during this whole flare thing? And he's like, they're all grounded. Then why are you here? Because this seems important. Well, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I also think
this is a very good way to describe him, Julie.
His immediate overseer, which I'd forgotten about him. He like sets himself up as a little ruler with his golden throne and stuff, and his pet snake.
Nataraja.
I forgot all about that.
Right? He named himself after a god.
That.
Nataraja. I think it's Nataraja.
Yeah. Something like that.
Also love when
I forgot that he existed until they mentioned him. I was
too.
like, oh yeah,
this guy.
But I just
top person.
But I just like how they Kate takes Derek into the People's Casino, and they have this scene, and Kate doesn't like showing off her powers in front of what's his name.
He always tries to test her.
Yeah,
and he tries to test her, but he tries to test her in a room with a werewolf and vampires, and she doesn't stand for it.
Right.
But also, Gastek and you can tell even from the start that Gastek and Rowena have a decent enough relationship with her that they don't necessarily approve. I can't speak it out loud, but they don't necessarily approve of sort of what their boss is doing some of the time.
I think that they're decent people, maybe not with the exact same moral compass as Kate, but decent people. But this is the order, the faction that they have picked.
Yeah, I mean, like even like she sees the people as evil, and Gastek is just like, no, like these vampires are valuable, like
scientific.
Yeah, he's like, do you not like understand that this specimen is blah blah blah? And it's like, oh, like no, he literally
like
this is my job. This is my passion. Yeah, like he's not about killing people. Should they?
He's not a sociopath.
But and I think this is probably the most unique take on vampires that I've read.
Definitely
in terms of how they're made. Like they don't take unwilling people. Like you have to be willing to be turned into a vampire. They don't necessarily take people who are always in the best health, but they have to be a good specimen that has the potential to be a strong vampire.
Right.
And most of these people do it because they are dying and because they've got loved ones who they want to set up after their death.
They have nothing else, basically. Like they're like, this will help my family because I cannot provide and I'm dying.
Yeah. It's kind of like a creepier version of leaving your body for science.
Yeah. I do like that.
Go ahead.
I'll just say when Gastek brought his vampire to Kate's office when Julie's there, I like that he's doing like a full medical exam. He's like, let me see your pupils. Is this how you feel? Do your limbs feel numb? And she's like, why are you asking me if I have been infected with the virus without asking me if I have been infected by the virus? He's like, just trying to be diplomatic. But have you? And she's like, no. And he's like, dang.
You'd be such a beautiful specimen.
Yeah. Danielle, I also like the Guild Hunter version of vampires, which is different again. But I think these ones, because like the vampires and Guild Hunters are very much their own people, whereas the ones in Kate Daniels, they're not. If they weren't controlled by the people, then it would be very, very bad.
Yeah. Right. They're just controlled by their bloodlust unless their mind is grasped by a stronger being. The thing that I find most entertaining, I feel like, about Kate Gastek, is that what we're calling him?
Gastek?
And Gastek. That's terrible. I don't like that. I'm gonna say
I like
Gastek.
it. That's how it looks. It's like
that's how I spell it set it up phonetically.
It's Gastek. Tech.
Excuse you. I believe there's a C with the K. I have it spelled right here.
No.
Mine has a K.
No, it's a K.
It's a K. Oh my god.
Anyway,
we have the print book. It's printed as with a K.
It's printed with a K. Just like Derek is printed with a K.
Listen, this does not change my pronunciation because I'm telling you that the H is what matters. That makes it Gus. What did I even say? Gastek. It doesn't matter. The thing that I like about Gastek, Derek, and Kate is we'll just call it the Twilight phenomenon, even though I don't know that they necessarily invented this. But you always have that trio of the main character female, and you've got the vampire and the werewolf, or the shifter, if you will. I love that this is like the version that they give us.
And none of this is romantic. It's the same. It's the trio you would get in a paranormal romance, but it's not that. It's all platonic between all three of them.
I will say, I did think for a while that like Derek would have a crush on Kate, and I like that. That isn't happening.
Right.
For him, it's always been more that sort of hero. Like he looks up to Kate. It's more the hero worship sort of side.
But when he was young like this, he was such a ladies' man, if you will. Like he used his charm and his looks to flirt with everybody, and he still kind of put her up on a pedestal above that.
Yeah. I wanted to circle back to your trio and go, when you take those three, so Kate, Derek, and Gastek, and you add Simon to it, because all three of them go when he's weeding out on the rooftop.
Oh yeah, the dancing in the snow.
The dancing naked in the snow.
Simon. I was like, naked. Who is Simon? I don't remember Simon.
Oh, sorry.
I love how we have Simon, and Simon.
Well, it's just my brain. Like I had no idea what you're talking about. Like
the body morph bro. The body morph bro.
Well, now I know.
Simon. Sorry.
I actually really like this in the Parasol Protectorate series too, because it is the main character, the werewolf, and the vampire, but the vampire is gay, and there's nothing there, so you still have the trio, but it's not that love triangle. And I like when
reading book too, because it made me too mad.
They all view the world very differently.
Parasol Protectorate?
Parasol Protectorate's great. Although I have
what happens in book 2 that made you mad?
I mean, it's the end of book 2. I'll tell you later.
The end. No, the end of book. Yeah, I agree. The end of book 2.
I was like, I'm out of here. I'm done with this.
You guys are gonna have to put it in our chat.
I'll put it in the chat. I'll put it in the chat later when we're done with this.
What's his name? There's
a lot of he's. You have to be more specific.
I'm getting to
Bran?
it. I mean,
yeah.
When he kisses her in front of Curran, in the keep, he just like pops in, like parts her robe, as like lays one on her, and then pops back out as like Curran tries to grab him, and Kate's just like, "What is your security here?" And she's like, "I loved that." And the bow on the underwear.
I love how mad Bran makes Curran.
Yes.
Well, but it's not just him. Like Bran has gotten past Jim. Multiple and the other pack members.
He's completely gone through all of the pack security.
He has
multiple times.
No respect for Curran's authority.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just like, I'm just going to pop in here. I'm going to pop in there. Oh, by the way, I've got the map again. Disappear.
I love too how they did kind of set it up like he was kind of a rival for Curran and going after Kate, but then at the end it was like, you're not really into me. You just literally don't know how to interact with a woman unless you're trying to sleep with her.
I thought that was interesting. Was them doing that standoff with the bed, where she's like, put the maps on the bed. Whoever gets to keep them.
Yes.
And he freaking she just whacked with the chair, and I was like, yes.
That was so good.
He's like, I can't beat you at this race, but I can hit you with a chair.
I loved that.
Just WWE SmackDown on this bro.
But I think it's really interesting later on when they do have their scene where she goes to visit him in his realm, and they're talking, and he makes a comment on how women in this age are very different to what he was. So he was just perpetuating what he was used to.
Right.
And I think, the fact that Kate is willing to turn around and whack him with a chair is, just highlights that, you can't just say whatever you want anymore.
I love it so much.
I love that he was like, oh, I'm taking this bet. I'm winning this. And she was like, he would win this bet, so I'm not going to play fairly. I mean, I'm going to abide by what we said.
Abide by the rules, but I loved that.
Yeah. And I kind of feel sorry for him a little bit as well. Because
for sure.
Tragic.
Because
I loved him so much. I was so sad.
I feel like not only his tragic end, but his tragic existence, her going to where he existed and kind of seeing it for herself, keeps you from feeling like Red got everything that he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because Red did get everything that he wanted, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. And you already saw the reality of that.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
And then and the witches as well. The witch oracle.
The witch oracles.
Yeah, I forgot that they showed up so early.
I forgot how their story connected to Bran's story initially.
Yeah. I completely forgot about that. I love that Morgan is in here, but then isn't like actually in here. Like she's in like one part, but they're not like fighting her or fighting for her. You have these other things that are fighting her or fighting for her.
I do,
but ultimately that's not who Kate faces.
I do like that at the end when she takes Red and she's just like, if I ever see you again, I will end you. And he's like, you can't. And Morgan is just like, you're never going to
time to go
again. Like she literally is like she's like, I'm not going to fight with you. Yeah, we're just gonna take this guy and go. And I'm like, the fact that a god was like, we're not gonna do this fight at all. Like,
right.
It's like, dang, okay. I still don't get how so many people are in a turtle. It blows my mind. I'm like, how big does that turtle have to be?
They're the witch oracle.
It's such a, but they were like, I don't smell magic. I just smell turtle. And I'm like,
but I just love them. I love them walking in to the turtle and they're like, everyone just keeps falling because they don't know the depth.
It's like walking on the tongue and then drowning in the spit.
I love that Kate fell and Gastek was like, real graceful, Kate. And then he immediately just like,
yeah, that was good.
And he's like, it's a little deep here, guy.
No kidding. And you know that Gastek is the one when the witch oracles, they sort of contain Gastek and all the vampire and Derek, and he's the one who's like, you can't do this. He's very indignant. You can't do this to me. Rah, rah, rah. And Kate's
how dare!
Shut up. Trying to work here.
I love how when Kate is like meeting Curran again, she's like, I didn't want to I didn't want to see him. If I did want to see him, I wanted to be at my best because he's mean and vicious and he enjoys making me squirm. And then Curran watching her eat and seeing like this relaxed, he seemed almost ordinary, except for the eyes. They always gave him away. And how she's like, I'm sorry, Your Majesty. And she's like, there, I was civil. It almost killed me. But I think that it sets up a very important part of the series, but is obviously a big part of this book, where it talks about how the shifters lose 75% of their children, either in in childbirth or
during puberty,
going loop, right? And how because of that, they would protect Julie, even if it was Kate asking them to do it, because they value children so much.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, it becomes more important later on in the series because they go into the idea of going loop in a lot more.
It's like the
detail.
Whole point of one of the books is kind of this is what we're doing because of the children.
Yeah, but I think I can't remember if it's in this book when Andrea is stuck in her beastkin form and they go to the Buddha clan.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they're a much smaller clan within the pack, but they have a really high instance of their kids going loop.
Right.
Aunt B, she talks about how, because she lost quite a few of her children.
I don't think that was mentioned in this book.
Wasn't it?
Aunt B. I think it is briefly.
I think it's alluded to that, you know, it's
that they lose,
something because, you know, she views all of them as her family.
Right.
Yeah. And it's also why she dotes on Raphael a lot.
I love him.
I love him.
Yeah, it's definitely mentioned before that.
Raphael's great.
I am excited to read the full-length book just to get to know Raphael.
Yes. Oh, it's so good. So good.
I'm really excited. I love that. This is my one that's all blurry, but I love that Curran's like, you're going to say please, and you're going to say thank you, and you're going to beg me to sleep with you. And she's
speaking of Curran and Kate scenes, the scene where she's watching him lift weights and she starts acting like a personal trainer and he's so
entertained. I heard not able to lift it up. And it's like literally no normal human could lift it up, but still.
She tried to spot him.
Good job spotting.
Use these before.
Uh-oh. There we go. I think we're in some sort of delay thing with that. I also love in this book how like his hair starts growing because of the magic spiking, and he's like, there's literally nothing I can do. It's so annoying. But I love it because he does have his hair so short most of the time that it's fun that there are parts in the series where the lion's mane kind of comes out, and I like that. Also in this book is when Kate does tell Curran about how there's nobody to keep the porch light on when she comes crawling home bleeding, and nobody cares if a liver die. Yeah,
because it's during because he's like, why do you care about their wedding so much?
Because she shouldn't care at all. Like I wouldn't care.
And he's like, is it guilt? Is it revenge? Is it love? Like what do you feel? And she's like, I'm alone. Mm-hmm. And she goes into being like, no one cares if I live or die. There's no one there at the end of the day for me to like come home to. It doesn't matter. I'm just alone, and I don't want people to be alone if they don't have to be.
And she talks about how when she looks in her future, she doesn't see any way for that to change. Yeah. And that's kind of the saddest part. It's not like I just haven't met somebody yet. It's like this is my existence and always will be.
I do like that she says she saw something in his eyes, understanding, sympathy. She wasn't sure.
Yeah. Well, he's very much alone himself.
And his mask was back on.
Yep.
It goes into it a tiny, tiny bit in this book, but it definitely explores it more further in the series. But it definitely, a theme of the series, it explores the fact that power is a lonely place to be in.
Yes.
You know? And I believe that with my whole heart. Part of why I am low income but stay home with my kids and have kids at the age that I did and married that I did and all of that. One, because I found my person, obviously. If I hadn't found them, then I wouldn't have. But I don't like power and fame and success, if you will, don't really appeal to me. I kind of find them to be lonely and sterile, and I'm like, when those people go to bed at night, they wish they had what I have. And so that's like kind of what I set out to get in my life. But I feel like this series really does explore the fact that it doesn't matter what power you have, especially not if people can't trust you. It matters that you have people that you would die for, that will die for you, and that you can go home and trust. I like that exploration, but it definitely goes into it starting in these first couple books.
The other scene that I like is, so after Kate has found out what Red and Julie were intending, and they're sitting and she's confronted Julie, and Julie has gotten mad, and they're sitting at the keep in the keep's kitchen or wherever, and they're eating, and Derek comes in, and Kate just rephrases the question, and it's not super subtle, but it's also not saying this is what so and so was thinking, and Derek just being, well, I think that would be really stupid and a really crap thing for a guy to do, and just moved on as sort of that.
Doesn't he talk about how he would like string him up by his balls or something like that? Yeah, she was like, what would you think of a guy that did that? And
I'd break something. He's like, maybe his arm, probably wouldn't kill him unless he wanted to make an issue of it.
And then he hands Julie a rose he made of like a metal can.
With his fingers.
Yeah.
He was
the
just
coffee
like
can.
bending it.
He's just like,
remember
here's
that
Rose,
Rose.
Julie, okay, bye.
Remember that Rose. It reappears.
What? It does?
that.
In the series or in Blood Air?
In Blood Air.
I should really read that book. I really should.
We're gonna read it. We're gonna read it.
We're gonna read it.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, this is the thing that never ends, right?
This is the Ilona Andrews read along now.
I mean, honestly, it might end up being, because then by the time we get through all the books, the next freaking book will come for the Hidden Legacy series, and then we can finally read it.
We have to read Blood Air and Hidden Legacy, so that takes us to like this time, 2022.
Yeah, we're planned for the foreseeable future. Julie, if you want to know where it is, message me later, and I can tell you where it is in Blood Air, but I won't say it on here because it's kind of it's one of those things that just ties the book back to the series.
Right. I'm so nervous to see it. I get so nervous, and I often put them off or don't read them when we get a spin-off series or whatever, especially in fantasy. I feel like where we're following the side characters. So now our old main characters are side characters, because I feel like a lot of times you kind of get disillusioned with your original favorites, and you're like, these people don't even like them, like, or they're like assholes to them or whatever. And I'm like, no, like, you made me love them over like a ton of books. Do not mess this up for me.
The one thing that I think was really smart with this book, and this isn't really spoilery, is that it's purely Julie's book. So you get mentions of characters, and characters do pop, like side characters pop up. So all the characters that you sort of know and love from this series pop up in the book, but you're not following the major players from the book. So they're mentioned, and the relationship is expanded on, and there's some stuff in there about why that is. But I thought it was a really smart way to lead into that series, is that this is its own thing. This is Julie's story. It's not someone else's.
Right. Yeah, I think you have to.
Which, yeah.
Going from Julie and Red and Derek, you can answer, Laura.
I was just going to say, book one is not what you base the rest of the series. Like we talked about it earlier. We think it's an important story, and once you've sort of know the characters, the reason why it is the way it is. But urban fantasy is different. This doesn't start becoming sort of more paranormal romancy until book 3. It is urban fantasy up until.
I do love a solid urban fantasy, though. I like both urban fantasy and paranormal.
I think this is the best urban fantasy, honestly.
I think this is a good. I think this is a good one if you like paranormal romance and you want to get into urban fantasy. I think it's a really good bridge series, but because some urban fantasies are very, very different to this.
I think I tried to read the Dresden Files, and I got like 2 books in and was like, God, I hate the main character, so I just bounced out of that one.
Which, speaking of, I would say that if you don't love the characters in these first couple books, they mature and grow.
Yeah.
Like going from book 10 back to book 1, I almost didn't recognize my favorite people. I was like, what are you doing?
They all make some really stupid decisions in the first couple of books.
In the beginning, yes.
I feel like that's just growing pains for everybody, though, right? Yeah. Like,
Absolutely.
You always make stupid decisions in life.
Well, even the side characters, I feel like they have a ton of growth throughout the series, which makes sense because you have a long series covering a long period of time.
Yeah.
Circling back to Julie and Red and Derek and talking about the transfer of power with sex, Kate then talks about how she can't just have sex with random people because having sex with her means sharing some of her magic. And a normal person, they wouldn't be able to protect themselves. And so it would be selfish on her part to have them in her life. And a powerful person would either try and kill her or try to use her to their advantage.
Yeah.
And I love how, again, you don't see it so much in the beginning, but it's not like a spoiler or anything. But I love how Curran proves to be that person that, he's powerful on his own. But he's never going to try and use Kate, or even just.
I think it's how he sees power, and it depends on how you see power and how you use power. I think is depending on.
Yes, I agree, because he really only sees power as a means to protect the people close to him.
Yeah,
I feel like that is like a deep part of his core as a person. He's not super into power itself. He's only into it as a means to protect his loved ones.
And I think tying into that is, we start to figure out get the real scope of how powerful Kate is and her connection to her past and where her powers have come from. And, we get the name in this book as well.
I thought we got it in the first one with Olathe.
Oh, sorry. We have the name in the first one, but Kate mentions it to Andrea, and Andrea's like, "How do you even know that name? Because I only learnt about it because of this situation."
Yeah, she talks about the eye, and she's like, "That's classified."
And the towers.
I do like that she's like, "What? Did his eye grow back? Did he build a new tower?" And she's like real sarcastic, and then Andrea's like, "Excuse me."
How did you?
And I feel like Kate too. Which could be another reason why Andrea ends up being such good friends with her, because she doesn't let loose information that Kate accidentally spilled to her.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, I feel like in these books too, I feel like it's a bit confusing because she talks about how whenever she has this showdown with this person, she's going to have to kill him. And she also talks about how her parents are dead and how they died and how they raised her and all of the things. And then Greg ends up being her guardian, and I feel like where we're at is not very clear how any of that ties together in any way.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be clear.
Right.
At this point. Because she's busy hiding all of it from everyone.
Right. Yeah. And at this point, all you really know is that there's more to her than she's laying on. Like that's really all they're giving you. They're giving you little hints and stuff, but I feel like those only really matter if you have the context for them. Although I definitely do remember the first time reading it being like, that seems important. But you don't know why or anything.
Yeah. All right. Did we want to do any other favorite scenes and then maybe do the quiz?
I have my favorite scene.
I have one.
My favorite scene is the one where Andrea is fully beastkin and Kate comes back to kind of be like, okay, let's go. I got to get my kid. And so the whole time, Kate's just like, all right, where's Julie? And Andrea is just like, don't you care that I'm Beastkin? And she's like, I won't tell Ted if you don't tell him anything what happened to Julie. And she's like, just like that? It doesn't bother you that I'm a child of an animal? No. Why would it? She's like, I don't care. You're my friend. Now where's Julie? And Andrea's just like, but it doesn't matter. And she's like, Jesus Christ, no. You are my friend. We are friends. I trust you. We're good now. My child.
Well, it just shows,
cracked me up.
Again, how untrusting people are of anything that they don't understand. And also how elitist the shifters really are, especially the pack, and how so many things affect your placement in the pack and your ranking and your acceptance. It's I do not fucking care.
It's like that Kate's like, I don't throw a party, whatever. That's great. Woohoo, Beast kid. Friends?
Yes.
We're friends. Cool. Kid.
Yeah, exactly.
She's like, this is not the end of my world. Please tell me, you are still my friend. Nothing has changed. Tell me where my child is.
Right.
Yeah.
Which to me, and I mean, I've never truly experienced this, right? I've only experienced it in stories and books. But to me, I'm always like, okay, so they were the chosen one, whatever. They are still the exact same person that you have been friends with or family with or loved this whole time. And you find out a fact about them. And now you're like, oh, I can't trust you. And it's like, this person. You know them on a level more than what they are. And as soon as you find out what they are, you show what a terrible person you are. And you're like, oh, death to the witch, or whatever. Yeah. It's such a common reaction that when somebody is like, no, it's fine. It's hard for them to wrap their heads around.
Yeah.
I just like that the Baudas were we're also going to keep your secret.
Yeah.
Like they were like, no, we won't tell either. We're good.
Yeah, I like them.
All right, so what's your favorite, Steph and or Heather?
So mine are 2 quotes from the same, it's chapter 20. So possibly the same chapter of Heather's. If we
try to see if it's the same thing.
But no, because I know mine's different to yours because I told you guys what it was. So there's, it's when Kate has just gone to see Curran to let him know that Andrea is beastkin, and he's like, more problems. And he says, are you on some sort of mission to fuck up my life? Which she's like, I try my best to avoid you. And I honestly don't mean to cause problems. And his answer is, you don't cause problems. An unpiloted vampire causes problems. You cause catastrophes. And then like 2 pages later, it's like he's, they're posturing at one another and bantering back and forth. And he says, I don't want the flare to be attributed to my loss of control when I throw you out the window. I want there to be no doubt the act was deliberate, because they've just had enough of each other at that point.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I just like because they say it, and they're just baiting one another the whole time, and it's great.
That's so good. I love how their banter is like, this is how I'm gonna kill you.
Yep.
I also think they sparred with each other. That was a good scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so after he tells her that she's going to say please and thank you, she's like, a few steps later, I decided to put my worry to rest. You were joking about the whole please and thank you thing, right? Meant every word. A little light danced in his eyes, and he very deliberately said, baby. No. He laughed. You should see your face right now. And I love how he just like continues to like taunt her, but also call her baby, but also feed her, but also like not let anything bad happen to her. And he keeps rescuing her.
Good soup.
It's just so many good scenes in this book.
I love how Aunt B is like, he did what now? About like feeding her.
Tell me more about that.
And then she's like, no one's here, right?
Exactly.
Like she
like,
cleared out
very
that whole
precise.
room.
This is important.
She cleared out that whole room before she did too. She's like, oh, no one can hear about this yet.
Mm-hmm.
Room's clear. I need play-by-play.
I need details. Yeah, that was good.
Well, Aunt B is very much a political. She has a very political mind. She's very politically minded.
She is
and she has
the
to,
leader of her clan for a reason. And her clan, despite their size and their loss of children, is powerful because she knows how to use their leverage to, keep her people safe.
Yeah.
All right.
I do like when we're in the Curran POV of the soup scene.
Yeah.
Where I guess he's like slowly realizing he has feelings for her as a person, because he was like, I came into the house and saw her, and in that moment I realized I could lose her, and then I had this dumb idea that if I let her go she would die. So like he had to keep holding his hand on her pulse beat to make sure that her heart was still beating. And I'm just like, but you're kind of still detached from her, really, bro?
He's catching feelings.
Yep.
Well, and I love too how obviously all my favorite characters are good people and kind and compassionate, but literally everybody in the series has significant trauma, and some of that trauma does play out in times when somebody that they care about in any capacity is injured or harmed, and it's like, I can't lose another one. And you see that manifesting for a lot of them in different ways quite a bit throughout the series.
On a lighter note, him looking at her being like, yeah, you eat that soup. You have no idea what you just did. Yeah, you keep eating that soup. I was cracking up.
I love how Aunt B is like, when a shapeshifter boy likes a girl, he'll bring her food. And I also loved when he was like in her house and he's like, welcome home. I'm glad you made it. There's coffee in the kitchen. And then he like acts like he's gonna kiss her, and then he's like, psych.
I was like, this is so sweet and touching, and then he's like, psych, and I'm like,
I know. because he's such an asshole at this point in our journey, but also he's not a complete asshole, you know, like he is still at his core a good person and a good man and ultimately a good mate, but right now so antagonistic.
All right, should we do this quiz?
Yeah, let's do the quiz.
All right, I'm going to preface this if you are watching that this quiz is in Magic Bites. I think it was when they re-released the first book, they put in a whole bunch of extra content. And some of the questions I think are possibly kind of dated, a bit like what we talked about earlier, but you know what, we'll just do it and have some fun. So it's multiple choice, and you have to read the question and then pick your answer and save your letter. And then at the end, it's whichever letters you have the most of should assign.
Oh, this is like a Teen Vogue quiz or something. Give me some
kind of
magazine goodness, man.
It's like I was like reliving my childhood. All right.
I forgot about those.
And I typed it up because to read it would just take forever. So
you are so professional. This is why we're doing it on your channel.
Yep.
You've got your act together.
So yeah.
All right. I have a clear winner here.
I was going between a couple.
Not me, man.
All right. Have you guys picked one?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, no, I'm changing my answer. Okay,
woman.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good.
We're good? All right.
Is this like me with my current skills and strength versus fantasy me?
Might have to be fantasy you. Fantasy you that lives in Atlanta.
All right. Got my answer. I don't feel as confident with this one. My risk assessment is like, we might not pull this off. Maybe not. I got it though.
You're right, Megan?
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Good. This is the one that
I haven't read all the options yet, but I can tell you that my response is violence.
yeah, same.
Okay. All right.
I should say, if you're in the comments and you're doing this as well and I go too fast, just tell me and we'll go back.
Megan, are you conflicted?
I am. I'm going between two answers. And they're
wow.
Both, I don't know. I'm thinking I'm eeny, meeny, miny, mowing it at this point.
Oh, actually,
I would do one. I would do one first and then the other. Is the problem in this like series of events?
All right, I've got one.
Okay, no, I think I know.
Well, just go with what you would do first.
No, it's fine. I got one. I got one that's more true. We're good.
That's more true.
All right, we good?
Mm-hmm.
You good, Heather?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. To be honest, the last one just makes me laugh.
I know people like that. That's the funny part.
I'm good.
You're good? Good, Megan?
I am good.
Wow. I thought I was possibly pretty clear, but
No, I'm all over the place the last couple of
hard
questions.
disagree on this one.
Look, F makes a good point.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
At least
like
it's useful. I say as my tiny dog just like wanders back and forth in my house.
I'm good.
All right. Next one.
Oh, well, tiny font. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
This one went into lots of detail.
Oh, this is not. I don't have a faction so far.
If I don't get the faction I want, I'm going to be so mad.
I hope there's more questions because right now I have like 3 tied.
How many?
You
There's
can't have 3 tied. There's 7 questions, genius.
You can have 3 ties.
There's-
That's 6,
there's-
and then
there's-
1 more would be like another.
There's 3 more questions. There's 3 more questions. There's
I know
10
math.
altogether.
Try and get ahead.
Yeah. All right. Are we good? Are you still ready?
Yes.
Okay.
We're bickering. We're fine.
Huh. Hmm. I've got something.
I mean, I
feel about it, though.
I feel weird because the one I would pick is the one that I have like almost failed in college.
So just pick it.
I did.
All right. 9.
I mean, I kind of agree with F. Just
Yeah.
saying. Learn you
parent.
have worth.
The parent in me is
I feel like you're probably the best one to answer.
not thrilled with all of these choices.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Way I go. Just think of it as crazy magical Atlanta
Mhm.
rather than real world.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right. Ready for the last one?
Yeah.
I think it's the last one. Yeah.
Well, Francesca said my favorite, what the gym sent.
Oh, the gym sentence.
Oh, the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, the gym sentence.
Um,
The one that was like
It was-
PE and
yeah, might as well learn how
World
to
is
act
tough.
together according to the rules of the game. All right. Okay, last one.
okay.
Okay, so you have to add up which letter you have the most of.
I have 2 of like every letter except for 1. I have 3.
You're a disaster.
Because I have 2 B's. I have 2 D. No, I have 2 A's. I think an E, an F, and a C.
Well, you can rank your factions, Megan.
Yep.
Oh.
All right, you ready?
Ready.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry that it is so tiny. I can read out the ones that we...
Oh,
Yes, thank
snap.
God. Thank you, Lord.
All right, what did you get, Heather?
I'm a shapeshifter of the
Yeah,
pack.
so am I.
I'm a witch of the covens.
Ooh.
You
Very
believe in
nice.
balance.
I can see
He
that.
who disrupts the harmony of the world will get his comeuppance one way or another.
I also, let's see, I got 2 B's. What was B? B was shapeshifter. And I had two A's, and A was a Knight of the Order.
I had 3 A's and 3 E's, and I would have been so mad with either of those options.
Which one was E?
What was your 3-way
That's
tie?
paranormal
Let us know.
Yeah, what was your original 3-way tie?
Yay.
Was it
Shapeshifters.
Night, Witch, and Paranormal? Woman. Megan.
Oh, Megan.
I had it was, so my number 1 was Witch of the Coven. I had 3, and then I had 2 on B and A, I think. So I had 2
Oh, B
shifter
and
and
A.
2 Knight. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I just really didn't want it to be order, people, or paranormal activity. I really didn't.
I will say F made some good points.
No, they did. That's why they're mercenaries. It's like their life is not complicated.
Order, pack, and witch.
Order, pack, and witch.
No,
Yeah,
it's not bad.
We similar. What up? But yeah, no, mine was
All right.
1 more witch.
Anyway, that was the quiz. I just thought it was funny that they included a quiz in the back
I
of
loved
a book.
it. It was fun.
I liked it. I was a little torn there, but happy with my results.
I can dig it. I feel witchy.
All right. Well, is there anything else we wanted to say about the books, or we can announce the next books and our live show date? Which I know one of you messaged me, but I've automatically already forgotten it.
I don't really have anything to add except that I thought that the scene with Simon on the roof was telling and funny.
I still love Simon. He's one of my favorites.
Simon.
I think it's
That's too close to Simon. I have to say
it's so close to Simon.
I think it's telling for the reader. I don't know if Kate has picked up on it yet.
I don't know. It's interesting
because she gets a big shock when
that's true.
You find out in the next book, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think.
All right, so yeah. All right, so if you are reading along with us, the next 2 novels that we're reading are Magic Strikes and Magic Bleeds, and we're also going 3 and 4, and we're also going to try and read, hopefully, fingers crossed, Magic Mourns, which is 3.5, and Magic Dreams.
What that covers?
I do, but I've forgotten off the top of my head. I have read it before.
Nobody.
And Magic Dreams, which is 4.5.
And then
I think there's
1 Curran POV.
Yeah, I think there is 1 Curran POV. But
there's not one for each book.
There's Midnight Games and Magic Strikes, and going down in an earlier round. There's 2 for Magic Strikes.
Actually, do you know what one of those novellas will be a Dali book?
3.
Because she's introduced in Magic Strikes.
4.
Yes.
I feel like I'm not gonna like reading this book.
There's 4.
4 Curran POVs.
There's 2 for both. 2 for each.
So there's 2 that happen in between the 3rd and 4th book.
Yeah.
I think that
might
might be the last of the POVs, though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, the Curran collection doesn't go the whole way through the series.
This is so long. Oh, no, there's 1 more. There's 5. There's 1 for Magic Bleeds as well.
Yeah.
There's another one. There's 6. I think the rest of this Curran POVs are between books 3 and 4.
Yeah, the Curran POVs aren't very long.
There we go. Yep, the rest of them are. So there's 6 of them total. And there's 2 for Magic Strikes, 2 in the middle between Magic Strikes and Magic Bleeds, and then 2 for Magic Bleeds.
Okay. Well, that's fine. We've got a whole month. It'll be
Lots of
fine.
reading stuff.
The novellas are all less than 100 pages, so they're not long.
I haven't read the novellas, so those I'm excited for. I've read the Curran POVs, but I haven't read the novellas.
Hang on, now I'm curious. I'm going to go back to the novellas because I've completely forgotten which ones they are. Because I read, like, the first time I read the series, I binge read. Yeah, one is an Andrea one, and I have a feeling Magic Dreams is Dali's book.
Oh, so Andrea is one of the ones we're reading? Or she's just 5.5?
I'm just, oh no, she does have a novella, I think. I'm just checking because my brain.
Magic Mourns is Andrea.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that she was the third one.
And Magic Dreams is Jim. So.
Oh yeah, it's Jim and Dali.
Cool. So I like reading that. Maybe I can put my heart back together after magic strikes.
Fingers crossed.
Or whatever
All right.
it is. I just know that things are coming that I don't want to see.
Yeah, no, I do really like the next couple of books, actually. Well, I like all of them, but these ones are interesting. I like what seeing happens in book 3. All right, so what did we say the date for our
15th?
The 15th.
Friday night.
Friday night, the 15th of October. So
the Americas.
Yeah.
Which will be Saturday the 16th.
Yes.
At 10 in the morning.
Yes.
But I will, because I do have a little of a Kate Daniels channel on my Discord, so I will pop the dates and that in there for anyone who's following along with that as well. I just put it in there because I happen to have it. I'm like, I'll just put it there anyway.
Did you invite me?
Going, yay!
Did I not know that you had a Discord?
Listen, I
don't think I didn't have it. I didn't have it when I did my announcement video. I think I did it afterwards.
I do not pay attention to Discord notifications. It is not a great situation.
I have like 40 Discord channels that I'm in, so.
Well, look, I'm not the most. Let's be real. I'm not the most active person on my own Discord, so.
That's what you need us for. We're not going to be active either, but.
I have my own Discord, and I literally only use it to play D&D with my friends. We have like a hidden channel in it, so I just give them the hidden channel role, and then we play Dungeons & Dragons.
Fair enough. Well, I popped the link in the chat anyway, so if you want to jump in there, but it's pretty much just me going, yay, I reread them.
And the Instagram one or the live show one?
The live show one.
What? No, you guys send it to me on my phone. I can't do this.
Fine.
Yeah, you have to send it through Instagram because it's not letting me do it through my computer. My computer's saying I don't have a Discord.
Instagram.
Rude. All right.
More like that.
Well, thank you very much for our chat. And thank you, everyone, for sticking around since we've been talking for 2 hours. Which
I knew this would happen.
I feel like it's only going to get longer from here.
It is. It's only going to get worse.
Yeah, well, actually, no, not apologies in advance because we like talking about these books. So
I think they're very entertaining.
Not only do the books kind of get more complicated, but then there's so many more 0.5s, whereas we didn't have as much in this one. Definitely feel like
and the 0.5s become quite important as well.
Yes, I'm excited for the ones that I haven't hit yet.
So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will hop off and get started on reading the next lot of books. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I know. I didn't want to start before this one because I didn't want to get confused and talk about anything. So now
I haven't even taken them off my shelf. I've left them like they're staring at me. I'm like,
exactly.
I'm leaving you
now
there.
I have a free pass. I can read them whenever I want.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And thanks for sharing your thoughts. Yay! All right, we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.